Hello, guys, and welcome. It's Holy Cow, episode number 9. I'm here with Greg.
Number 9. Wow. Hard to believe it's number 9.
Number 9. We finished up the month of May. Did you hear what the record is for the month of May for the Cubs?
Second best in the majors, I think.
Finished the first best because they beat San Diego 19-8.
Okay, because I know it was Tampa Bay. It must have been a screen graphic I saw yesterday.
Yes, they were the second in I believe the MLB, and now they are the first going into tonight playing that second game against San Diego. Lacey is off. She's prepping for the premiere of Cold Beers and Curveballs. Be sure to check that out when it comes out. But it's going to be a fun hour because the Cubs are right now tied for first with the St. Louis Cardinals. It's been going back and forth just because they just can't seem to get that win. I mean, the Diamondbacks, they couldn't win a game. They went on a 13-game losing streak. Finally were able to pull one out. Helped out because Cincinnati won that last game on Sunday, but we'll get more into that. Greg, how was the Memorial Day weekend?
Not too bad. Started my summer job at the golf course and traded bats and balls for clubs and bogeys and pins. So
Greg's got a summer job and a curfew, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Back to high school living.
We just need it to get warm and sunny again. It's been a long week here because it's been cold and gray and quite a bit of rain. We haven't seen any rain the last couple of days, but ready for summer, though. It used to say that Memorial Day was the unofficial start of the summer. So here we are. Let's get it started.
Labor Day or Memorial Day weekend, this weekend for me, I was in a blanket, pants, and a hoodie at a baseball game, and I didn't think that was possible except for when you go to Wrigley every once in a while, which they had the same thing going on.
I had to laugh. I watched the Wrigley game yesterday, and you could see that there were some, or maybe it was Saturday, either Friday, Saturday, or something. One of those days, it was cold.
Yeah, Friday was like 39 degrees is what it felt like on the field.
And I thought, yep, I've been burned more than once going up there. I remember going up for a July game, having to buy sweatshirt. It was a day game, and we had to buy sweatshirts because it was so darn cold.
Yep.
And, there used to, I have to look, there used to be an app that I used that would give you a truer picture of really what you were going to expect when you went there because, you could tune into Chicago weather and that always wasn't the most accurate. So,
right. Well, and that's the thing I love about the broadcast is especially with Marquee, they have the wind changing, and I can't remember what.
That.
I think it was Friday. It was basically
right.
You're going to play small ball. You're going to have to hit your gaps. You're going to have to score.
We beat the Reds 1-0, I believe. Because
yes,
the Cincinnati press was complaining about that, and I'm thinking, you know what? It's the same for both teams,
right?
But you're talking about some B leaguers in the media down there in the River City. They've got to have something to complain about because their beloved Reds just can't seem to really figure out the Cubs. We took 2 or 3, so put up or shut up, and they're lucky they walked out with a win yesterday. So
yes. Tell you who did not put up at all. Well, they did keep it close. It was that first game of the series was the Pittsburgh Pirates. Apparently, they've been around since 1887, according to their logo. They I don't know what's going on here now. But no, the Pittsburgh Pirates come to town, or we went to there. It was the last bit of that little road trip. As we were talking about, 4-3, 4-1, and 5-3 were the scores on that. Not a real big showing offensively for the Cubs. The bats were alive. The offense was there. But really the showcase for the better part of this month has really been the bullpen.
Yeah.
Bullpen has been lights out. I was looking through some statistics, and we'll just go ahead and get into it on that bullpen. They have a couple of players right now who are sitting at a 0 ERA. I mean,
Exactly.
if you look right now with their relief pitchers and things like that, you've got Craig Kimball with a 0.82 ERA, 2.55 is Ryan Tepera. Andrew Chafin's at a 2.28. Dan Winkler with a 0.51 and Rex Brothers with a 3.31. Then you go down here and you got Tommy Nance and Brad Week, who both have a 0 ERA. They've pitched in 6 games and the other in 5 games. So that is really the strong point.
Absolutely.
Getting a lot of depth out of the
start. So much more so than last season. Our bullpen last year, and Kimbrel included. I mean, there just a lot of duds last year, and we may not have the starting pitchers that we did last year, but it really helps to know that if you can get 4 or 5 innings out of your starter, turn it over to your bullpen. And what was it? It was either Saturday. I want to say it was Saturday that when they broke that streak of scoreless innings held by the bullpen. And, that and again, we've got a pretty tough 2 weeks coming up. So I'll reserve some of my comments until after I see what happens there. But again, you're playing today, the next 2 days, you're playing the best team in the National League right now.
Yep.
And I thought, the first game is always what I call the table setter. And what I was able to see, because obviously I was at work, so I couldn't watch the game. 7-2, 7-1, that's a good start.
Yeah.
And, I think and I had mentioned this 2 or 3 shows ago, that we just have to keep finding a way to win the series. We've won every series that we've played in since they got swept by the Indians a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And you know what? That's you're talking Detroit. Who did we come home to play last week?
So since the Cleveland, the 2 games in Cleveland, they went to Detroit, then Washington came to town, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati.
So that's like 5 series in a row now that we've won in the next 2. Of course, I want us to win all 3, but we win one of the next 2. You're taking series against, again, the best team in the National League right now. And
so since the start of May, the Cincinnati series that started May 1st and 2nd, it actually started on April 30th. But since then, the only series that they've lost has been the Cleveland, and that was a 2-game sweep.
And that could have like I said 2 weeks ago, that could have very easily been a 2-game sweep for us. I've lost both games by a run.
Yep.
And, that was one of the things our announcers were talking about this last weekend. And I didn't know that maybe it's both, that we either lead in the number of 1-game losses or we lead in the number of 1-game wins. And it could be both for all I know. But to me, the fact that we have so many 1-game victories, I love that, because it's very easy to get excited about winning 5-1 or 10-1. Like, we clubbed the Cardinals a couple Friday nights ago.
Yeah.
But when you win those 1-run games, especially like 1-0 against the Reds. I know that the Cincinnati media just pulling their hair out over that. And well, you know what? When you don't score runs, you're not going to win a game.
Right. Well, and seeing the weather's kind of been a battle this whole week. In Pittsburgh, it wasn't doing much better warmth-wise, wind-wise. It didn't help out. Pittsburgh, they were able to win the first one by 1, then 3 on the second, and then 2. So not really big run differentials there in the games. Pittsburgh just hasn't been able to string anything together.
No, I really don't want to knock the Pirates. Like I said, that's kind of my spring training team of choice in Florida because I love their ballpark. If you ever catch some Grapefruit League action in Florida, you've got to go. And I still call it McKechnie Field because that's what it was called for years. And it's just a neat old throwback. But God bless the Pirates. I mean, they're stuck with an owner that really doesn't want to spend any money whatsoever.
No.
They really, it wouldn't be a stretch to say they have the coolest stadium in the majors. I mean, it's one of the top 2 or 3. It's just, I mean, I went there 3-4 summers ago, and the background is just amazing.
Right.
It's just a neat place to go and watch another baseball game. But other than that, they don't have an awful lot going for them right now. They can't beat anyone. And what was it, Atlanta? I mean, almost beat them by 2 touchdowns?
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago.
And they're on a 3-7 on the last 10. They're bottom of the league, 20-32, 9.5 games back behind Chicago and St. Louis. It's not looking good. It's definitely a rebuild season. I know one of their main players, Todd Frazier, is out actually with the Olympic team trying to make that in. I believe they were playing I cannot remember who they were playing on Monday night. But they've got a lot of issues that they're going to have to work through. They've got a new coach or a new manager, rather. It's kind of like they're in the middle of a rebuild. Maybe they're not wanting to spend any money because they are so bad that they think they can rebuild with with the picks. The Trastros, they did that. They were the people that really did the homegrown talent. Starting to see that with the Cubs, as the Cubs are kind of coming to the end of their reign with guys that came up through their minor league system.
They're playing at Kansas City for the next couple days. So
yeah.
In Kansas City, I don't consider to be one of the American League elite teams this year. So
they're one game below 500 right now.
But I think what has to hurt, I think everyone expected this very same kind of season from the Tigers. And, as we talked about before the show began, they swept the Yankees. Granted, it was at Comerica Park, but they swept the Yankees.
Yep.
And, they played the Cubs tough. I mean, the Cubs didn't walk into Tiger Town and just, push them around. I mean, they took one from the Cubs. And, if things continue to develop there in Detroit, give them a couple years, they're going to be back fighting for that American League pennant. So,
yeah.
I mean, we'll just have
They're
to
11.5 games out right now in the AL Central. We'll go ahead and take a look at it right now with the NL Central standings. Chicago and St. Louis, at the time of us recording this, were both at 30 games and 23. They're both tied. Milwaukee, they're 1.5 games back. Cincinnati, 5.5 games back. Pittsburgh is 9.5 games back. I always like to take a look there at the wild card situation, and the wild card situation has Chicago and St. Louis, and then San Francisco and the Mets. That's all right there. But for the wild card, San Diego and LA, St. Louis or Chicago would at this point be a game out of one of those wild card spots. That update from the standings brought to you by Obvious Shirts. Go to obviousshirts.com. Check them out. They got this sweet shirt for the Holy Cow shirt. Holy Cow 5, get you $5 off. It's a great company. They've also got that new shirt out for the failed starter with Andrew Chafin. They've also got some really cool ALS shirts for Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig getting the honor this year. So I think it's the first season that they're doing a Lou Gehrig Day. So that's pretty cool. But continuing on our map of the last week, after we got done just handing it over to the Pirates, we finally get back home to Wrigley with the Reds, and they take that series. They win the first two against the Reds. So we were saying in that one-run game there for the first, then a 10-2 game, and then Jake Arrieta still seems to be struggling with a loss at 5-1. He still is in the winning record, 5-4 is his record right now, but he's really shaky at this point. It's making me really nervous. Used to, it was kind of one of those things where a start from Jake Arrieta, it was Jake Arrieta Day. We were all super excited.
Exactly.
Well, and I'm sorry, I misspoke. He's got a 5-5 record right now. He's got a 4.41 ERA, which really matches him up to having the second lowest ERA for starters right now, outside of the spot start from Cole tonight, or Monday night rather, against the San Diego Padres. So the second game of the series was just a complete annihilation, 10-2. Really, Cincinnati.
I love that, especially against the Reds, because like I said, I love my friends, but I have a lot of friends that are Reds fans. And as a kid, I was a Reds fan. I mean, I was, grew up in Muncie, and Muncie is pretty, I wouldn't say pretty close, but about 2 hours away from Cincinnati. And everybody in the 60s and 70s was a Reds fan.
It was a good time to be a Reds fan.
Absolutely. Indianapolis Indians, they were Cincinnati's AAA farm team. My dad used to tell me stories about how they used to have a semi-professional team in Muncie that played down at McCullough Park, our little stadium in town, known as the Muncie Reds. And, that's just, you watch baseball. I mean, you were a Reds fan. I mean, there weren't the plethora of White Sox and Cubs and Cardinals. How the hell anyone could be a Cardinal fan, I don't know. But nonetheless,
I couldn't do it.
There were just a whole bit mixed bag now. But back then, all my buddies, all my friends, I remember having a classmate in middle school who was a Cleveland Indian fan, and we're all like, what in the hell is your problem? They're horrible. But, that he was from the Cleveland area originally, and Dad was a professor at Ball State, and they had come to Muncie from somewhere in Ohio. So that explained things.
Yeah.
But, it was a really good time to be a Reds fan. And I always people always say, well, how did you become a Cubs fan after being such a dyed-in-the-wool Reds fan? I said, about, I want to say 1978, maybe 79, one of the most profound things in my life occurred. We got cable. And, we get cable, and all of a sudden, here's this TV station called WGN with an announcer by the name of Jack Brickhouse. And I could watch baseball literally every day.
Yep.
And I mean, the more I saw of Wrigley Field, I thought, what a what a cool ballpark. And I fell in love with it. And I remember first time I went to see the Cubs at Wrigley was against the Giants. They had traded Billy Madlock, that was their third baseman, earlier in the season, and he was there with the Giants. I'm pretty certain the Giants won that day. The Cubs weren't very good at that time, and which people just said no, it's not true. But I still remember Jack Brickhouse announcing in the summer, and he'd be really excited. Oh, big crowd here at Wrigley today. The upper deck is open, because it wouldn't be open for every. I mean, the weekend it always was.
Right.
The Monday through Thursday games, many times the upper deck was closed. You can only buy seats downstairs. And someone just kind of said, I just can't believe that. And I said, well, the Cubs had that brush with destiny in 1969 and really never came close. I mean, they might have had a couple Aprils, maybe a couple Mays where they got off to a good start, but they never finished. And, that was back in the olden days of the NL East and the NL West. And, the Cubs were with the Mets, the Cardinals, the Phillies, the Expos, and who am I missing there?
Milwaukee?
No, Milwaukee was in the American League.
Yeah, they were.
So Philadelphia, New York, Pittsburgh, that was the other one. Because the Reds and the Braves, obviously someone failed geography. The Reds and the Braves were in the National League West with the three California teams, and who else?
The Ash
would have been the Astros.
That's
yeah. Right. So it was San Diego, San Francisco, and the Reds and the Dodgers would bounce heads against each other almost all through the 70s. And that was when the Dodgers were good every year. So, have we gone to, present day divisions back then, we would have been in trouble. Even the Cubs would have been in trouble then because, you had the Reds. The Pirates, believe it or not, were a real force in the 70s.
Yeah.
The Cardinals.
It was the hats, man. Those cool little flat-topped hats.
The Cardinals, I think, are better now than they were, but they still had their chances. And, of course, Milwaukee was in the American League, and probably, I would guess, it would have been the Astros. It's because I think that's who we flip-flop to. And I'm all about bringing Houston back into the National League.
I think that would be great.
And sending Milwaukee right back to the American League.
I say just bring them back. That way we don't have interleague play all week.
Yeah.
It takes away from the whole thing. I will say, to get back into this past week, I loved the fact that Garrett walked in a run.
Yes.
Saturday. Oh. I cannot stand that man. Amir Garrett, I hope you're watching and I hope you understand. You are a disgrace to the game of baseball.
One of the things, and it's probably a guilty pleasure, but here in Logansport, I can, when the Reds are playing the Cubs, I can either watch the Cubs broadcast or the Marquee broadcast, or I can watch the Reds broadcast. And sometimes I like to watch and I forget which one I have, the three, but I watch the Reds and moan and groan and poor pitiful loss. We're just getting hosed here. And I thought, man, oh man, I know who pays your paycheck, but let's stick to the facts here, announcers. I mean, maybe I'm blinded by my own loyalty, but I don't think our Cub announcers bitch and moan the way the Reds. I mean, of course, it's not as bad as it used to be when Tom Brenneman was part, and they'd play the Cubs. It was 9 innings of just rudeness. So I can't really say I was sad last year when he finally got hung by his own rope for running his mouth when he shouldn't have. I think they were in St. Louis, but I don't miss him at all. I really don't. Of course, I grew up with listening to Joe Nuxall and Marty Brenneman and Al Michaels, and they were professional guys. I mean, and I think every announcer needs to be a homer for their own team. But, constantly making excuses and, just let's not give the other team any credit at all. And I don't think Harry Carey ever did that. Harry was real quick to push his own team off the side of the building when they weren't playing well, but never criticized the other team unless maybe it was the White Sox, and he didn't have it too much trouble getting some daggers in there. Of course, he went in St. Louis, so he was on still pretty good terms with those guys, I think. But
listen to this line, Greg. This is the best thing I read. Garrett, 1/3 inning, no hits, 2 runs, both of them earned on 2 walks with 1 strikeout to take his yearly season ERA to an 8.36. Now, Amir Garrett is the man who wanted to strike people out and then throw a temper tantrum and act like he was the greatest thing ever. Bench is cleared. Baez went out to get after it for Rizzo. And when they pulled him out, they cut to Baez in the dugout, just clapping, gave himself a nice Kobe, and that was it. I loved every second of it because, yes, Amir Garrett, you are nothing but trash. You'll always be trash. I don't care.
I had to laugh, though, when they interviewed him after that game, and the Cincinnati media bobbed with it. The big excuse, well, it was cold. That wind was cold, and you're right. I keep forgetting Cincinnati is on the equator, so it never gets cold in Cincinnati. Yeah, right. I've frozen my behind off there at Great American Ballpark more than once. Quit making excuses. That game, as a pitcher, you sucked.
Yeah. And it couldn't have happened to a more deserving individual at the best place in the world to have it happen to, Wrigley Field. Just the cheers as he came off of the field, that it was great. I sit there and I loved every second of it. Courtney was sitting there. She ran in when I just started screaming because I was so happy that it happened to the most deserving guy. Now, the next day, looks like we used up a lot of our runs for the weekly quota. I don't know if that's a real thing, but it was a 5-1 game. Jake Arrieta starting that game got into a bit of some trouble. We've kind of noticed that we were, starting to – Jake Arrieta was that for sure win. Jake Arrieta is still great at baseball. I think he really is still great at baseball. But over the past couple of starts, he's had really rough innings. Right. The first inning in particular, I believe it was there in April. I think they were playing the Pirates at that point. At that time, got himself into a really bad first inning. It looked like it was going all downhill, but then he gave 5 more innings after that, 6 innings pitched, 5 innings without a run. That being said, I look down and, everything, I get the game on. My first inning when I'm at home is I turn the game on. I probably should do it during pregame, but I start getting ready for how I'm going to set for the rest of the game to watch games. So when I get back in, it's 1-0. He's got bases loaded with 1 out. And I'm like, here we go. We got to get out of that jam. So I'm like, all right, now Jake Arrieta is going to pitch 5 innings, very minimal hits, no damage. We're going to be all right. It's going to go okay. But it just continued to spiral out a little bit more. He took his 5th loss of the season, making his record at 5-5. So I was saying he still has the 2nd best ERA out of the starting pitchers. But it's just I'm concerned now that this is starting to become the trend, and Jake Arrieta is a smart veteran player. I think sometimes he relies a little bit more on that than the actual ability of saying, hey, I'm going to have to pitch here. That's one of the great things about a pitcher who's had some longevity in the league is they learn how to pitch.
Right.
A lot of times they're just throwing as they come on, so they can kind of start to say, okay, this is what I need to look at. This isn't working right now. Let's go to plan B. Let's go to this and let's go to that. How long can he sustain that? Hopefully things come together, things get better. Yeah, the weather conditions were a little bit chilly. I get that. He's a guy that pitches with no sleeves. He's kind of one of those just rough and tough, big beard dude. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to throw. It ran into some trouble again. So now he's at a 500 record, 4.38, I believe is his 4.41 ERA. So that gives me a little bit of concern. Also,
his next start is going to be in San Francisco.
Yes.
Probably either Friday or I don't think it'll be Thursday, but either I'd say Friday or Saturday. And I believe I look at the schedule here. I know where am I here? Well, 3 of the 4 are night games,
Yeah.
Thursday, 9:45. Of course, it'll be 7 their time, but that's the one thing, I've always known about San Francisco, that if you go to a night game there at Pac Bell Park, you better be dressed for the weather.
Pac Bell Park, Greg. I think the name's changed like 4 times since then.
I stick with the ones I remember, and that's.
I can't remember what it is now too. It was AT&T forever.
The park that hated team on the south side of Chicago plays in. I don't know what the hell they call it, nor do I care.
Hey,
it's always going to be Comiskey Park to me.
I'm going to tell you what it is. It's the fight at the in the outfield. That's what it is lately. That's all that I've seen. Talking about Chicago, White Sox and things like that, is just the magnificent fights that are happening out in the.
It's almost like they're filming the Hunger Games or something there. That
I was going to say Jerry Springer.
Oh, I can't use the words I'd like to use because I got in trouble on Facebook for using those. That basically the initials are WT.
Oh man, the Chicago white trash. I'll say it for you, Greg.
I got my hand slapped a few weeks ago because I used that term. And,
oh no!
God forbid that
Hey, I will give them a win. I'll give them a win this week. Their city concept jerseys and uniforms look really cool. They're the reversed pinstripes, so instead of white with black pinstripes, they're a black uniform with white pinstripes. They've got a CHI going across the hat, and it says South Side across the chest. They actually look really cool. I would wear one. Not as cool as when they had the shorts back in the day. That's the one retro uniform when they do those throwback days I wish they would do.
I think they split today. They played a couple 7-inning. They beat the Indians the first game, but I think they're losing.
They lost the second game 3-1.
Excellent. And they're going to Comerica to play the Tigers. I'm gonna make a prediction there. I know that the Sox are in first, but those Tigers are playing good right now.
Yes,
Tigers going to win at least 2 of the 4.
You know what, Greg?
If they can sweep the Yankees, they sure as hell can do a number on the White Sox.
Yeah, and if you're going to make those, those bets or
Oh,
those.
I'm sorry, I take that back. They're playing the Tigers at Comiskey for
Right.
4. So, but then again, I still say they can at least take a couple.
Well, Greg, you know what? If you're going to say that, put your money where your mouth is and get on over there to Monkey Knife Fight.
Yeah.
It's the daily fantasy sports gaming website for the casual sports fan that is simple, fun, and easy to play. Greg, I think you're a casual sports guy. Users determine which sporting events and superstars competing in those days' events will record more or less than the contest line provided. Monkey Knife Fight's daily fantasy prop games play similar to the salary cap-based DFS games, but without the algorithms, lineups, and most importantly, sharks. There are several contests to choose from, none of which require hours of research required by competing sites. Start with a simple 2-2 or go for the highest payouts, which can be 100 times and higher by selecting an 8-8 more or less contest. You can get started today with a 100% instant match bonus of up to $100 with our promo code Holy Cow. It's all one word. I'm a little upset right now with Monkey Knife Fight. They will not put a fight in the stands for to play at White Sox home games. I've reached out. I haven't heard any response back. So, guys, get back to me. Love for you guys to do that.
Well, those of us that have been around for a long time, the fight to me that will be the Disco Demolition Night that they hosted when Bill Veeck owned them at the original Comiskey Park, and they were playing the Tigers of all, and it was a doubleheader. And between games, they were I don't know if everyone was told to bring records or whatever, and they were going to blow some up between games on the field, which I loved Bill Veeck. I mean, he was as unconventional as anything. And, some of the things he did to promote the game were legendary. But this was one that, you never combine explosives or blowing things up with 10-cent beer. And, the natives just were completely out of control. And I think it is maybe, I don't know, I'd have to do some research, but I do believe that was the last major league game that was a forfeit because of unplayable conditions on the field, because the inmates overran the field and were just, they were uncontrollable, ripping up big chunks of the sod. And I mean, they said it was almost, you feared for your life because, back in the 70s, we actually had what we called vinyl records.
They've made a comeback, Greg.
This new generation, what's that? But they became Frisbees or flying saucers out of the stands. And I'll tell you what, one of those suckers hit you on the side of the head, that'd be one hell of a concussion. So I remember watching that on TV thinking, what in the hell is going on here at Comiskey Park? But I will say I went to 2 or 3 games there, and it was always a good time. I mean, there was always something going on. It was just an old ballpark that had seen better days 30 years before that date. And I wish they could have found a way to save it. But, it's like we had that discussion a few weeks ago about Tiger Stadium, and I understood why Tiger fans wanted that, but I never, the 3 or 4 times I went to Tiger Stadium, I just didn't think it was that unique. Comiskey Park was unique. It was just a neat ball. I personally think it's a better ballpark than what they've got now. But, again, I'm not a White Sox fan, so maybe
they needed new chairs to rip out, right?
Evidently, because those others, I mean, and it took them forever to tear it down because it was built like a battleship.
Right.
So,
But hey, I know they are kind of the enemy, but they are sitting 3.5 games ahead in first place on that AL Central side.
but I will also say that their division rivals are not as formidable as. Let's face it, you've got the Cubs. I mean, even you have to include the Reds. You've got 4 teams in the National League Central that are going to slug it out until the final weekend, I think.
Yep.
And I look at that American League Central. The Twins might have the prize for the biggest disappointment of the season. I mean, people were talking about them, being in the playoffs. They're going to be lucky to finish above the 500 mark. Everyone knew Detroit wasn't going to be very good, yet they're fun to watch. Cleveland, I just don't think they're going to hold it. It's going to be interesting in a couple of weeks when they come to Wrigley Field, because to me, the Cubs have got some revenge. I mean, they just need to kick the Indians' ass 2 straight in a row, because they should have beaten them two in a row 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Kansas City's disappointment as well. They're just. I'm not saying that the White Sox aren't decent, but they're going to win. To me, they're going to win that division by default.
Yes.
And we'll see what truly happens when they get in the playoffs and they have to play someone like the A's or the Red Sox. I mean, I'd like to hope against hope the Yankees don't make it, but we all know that they're going to hit the free agent market, or they're going to the trade deadline. They're going to hopefully none of our players cross.
Be great if they were sellers.
I would love to see them be sellers, but
they keep it up. And they are.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. That's the thing that's so crazy right now, though, Greg, is they've been on this hot streak. The Cubs have 19-8 for the 19-8 for the end of the season, or for the month of May. But we've got 12 players on the IL, major players like Duffy, Rizzo, David Bodie's on it as well. Trevor Williams is on there with appendicitis. That's why we had a spot start from Cole Stewart. There is a lot of players that are on that injured list that are key players, but they've kept it going. Wisdom hit 2. We'll just go ahead and get into it. The first game of this 3-game set with the Padres, they're playing here. Then they're heading out to San Francisco. They'll play San Diego at Petco Park as well. So they're going to see them a couple of times. But this first game that they played, was great. 7-2. They had a spot start from a pitcher named Cole Stewart. He got picked up last season. Well, he didn't play last season. He played the season before with the Minnesota Twins. He was with them for 2018 and 19. But he threw lights out. He had 5 innings pitched, 2 strikeouts. He had a whip of 80. He had 1 run. It was an unearned run, and had 1 walk. Great spot start.
Yeah.
Gave him 5 solid innings of pitching, and the bats came alive. Baez, 2 home runs. Wisdom with 2 home runs. Wisdom coming in playing third there for the missing Duffy. Right now you got Chris Bryant playing first. But, yeah, he had 2 home runs. And then Chris Bryant had a home run as well. So Baez is coming alive.
Yeah.
Baez making a push for it. Baez, I really think, saying, hey, I am one of those shortstops. I am the best shortstop. I'm free agency.
Well, and he brings a fire, a passion to the game that really nobody else on the Cubs does. I mean, he plays with so much emotion, and I love that. He's one of my favorite players to watch, because I'll tell you, when he's hot, there's nobody better in the game.
Right. Yeah, and I think this season of pushing towards, free agency has really even kind of lit that fire more. This is his chance to shine and get paid. It's also that one last time to get the band together and play that one final show to see how things go. I think this is going to be interesting. We're back to the start of the rotation. Kyle Hendricks is pitching today against Weathers, and then Alzolay and Lamet. It looks like we're not going to see Yu Darvish during this road trip out for them, which I thought was funny because Yu Darvish was teaching some pitching grips before the game to Monday on Memorial Day. He was showing a few of the guys how to hold different pitches because, Yu Darvish has 8 pitches.
Yeah.
It's incredible how well he is. Zach Davies is what we kind of got back in return for Yu Darvish. Numbers aren't that great compared, but Davies is starting to kind of come into his own. His pitching is starting to take off as well. So we've got that, and then we've also got San Francisco, that whole NL West is a stacked little division.
Absolutely.
You've got LA, San Francisco tied. Well, San Francisco and San Diego. San Diego's a half game back. LA Dodgers is 2.5 game back. Then you've got Colorado, which is 14, and Arizona 15. So it's really a 3-man race. But the only thing separating first place and third place is 2.5 games. So it's really anybody's division right now.
Absolutely. And you take a look at the schedule between tomorrow and the 4th of July, the Cubs have 10 home games. They also have 21 road games, and that is a huge imbalance. And, playing on the road is tough anyway, but you're playing at San Francisco for 4. You're playing at San Diego. You've got 4 against the Mets. They're not going to forget what the Cubs did to them last month. You've got 4 at Dodger Stadium. You've got 3 at Milwaukee, 3 at Cincinnati, and we don't traditionally, at least the last few years, we haven't played terribly well in Cincinnati.
No.
So I firmly believe that this section of the schedule between now and the 4th of July is going to, if we can come out of this with a winning record, I firmly believe we're going to be in the hunt for either the division or a wild card berth at the end of the season. This is where it'll be, to me, that's where it'll be decided because, you look, schedule's pretty balanced after that. One nice thing, you kind of look ahead. September, we have more home games than we do road games.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing right there. So,
well, and it's good too because right after the 4th of July, you come home for 7 games, Philadelphia and St. Louis. Then you have that 4 game of the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And, you start back out in Arizona, St. Louis. You come back home for a few. So you do get that nice being at home for about 11 days.
Yeah.
Which really helps things out. It might, help kickstart and rejuvenate. I really think that, the Mets is going to be an interesting one because the Mets didn't play well when they came to Wrigley. How is that team going to look going forward? St. Louis and Cubs, they actually got bumped up to a primetime game on their next little series on the June 11th through the 13th. I think it's either the Saturday or the Sunday night game is going to be brought. I think it's the Sunday night game is going to be an ESPN game. So the San Francisco games are really the ones that kind of worry me because San Francisco, no one expected them to be this good.
No.
So no one really knows kind of what to expect, what you're looking for. I think the game strategy is going to be a little bit different. I think the San Diego series is good for the Cubs to be able to see kind of what to expect with San Diego because San Diego was one of those teams that was supposed to, just lights out. They were going to blow up. They were Slam Diego last year, all of these things. They started out kind of at a really slow pace, but they've picked it back up. They're now a half game back behind San Francisco. It's really going to be a fun little NL West trip, and then they're back for the St. Louis games, and then they're off to see the Mets. Then they play Miami and Cleveland at home. I think those Cleveland games are going to be very fun, the Monday and Tuesday there in June. Can't wait to really see how that goes.
And kind of an interesting thing there, by the time we get through the end of July, the end of August, we're pretty much done with the California teams, except for the Giants, who they don't come to Wrigley until the end of September, about the middle of September. But you're going to have you're going to be done with the Dodgers. You're going to be done with the Padres. Haven't played Arizona either, which that one doesn't bother me too much because they're just not very good right now. But like I said, we're playing some tough places for the next 4 or 5 weeks. And, I was fortunate enough maybe it was about 3 summers ago, Cubs played in San Francisco. What an amazing ballpark. It just is one of my most favorite places that I have seen the Cubs play. It was friendly to non-Giant fans. I mean, I've heard you really tend to take your life in your own hands if you go to Dodger Stadium and you don't wear Dodger blue. I never felt scared or unsafe at Pac Bell, AT&T, whatever the hell they call it now. But it's just a great place. And again, I probably said this last week about some other place, but if you ever get a chance to catch the Cubs on the road, I'll tell you, San Diego, Dodger Stadium, San Francisco, I've been to all three. They're just great ballparks. Petco is a wonderful. I've seen the Cubs play there. I've seen the Cubs at San Francisco. I haven't seen the Cubs at Dodger Stadium, but I saw the Dodgers play, I think, the Angels there. And the fact that it's the second oldest stadium in the National League tells you something right there. And it's just, if you love the history of the game, you got to go to Dodger Stadium. It's just a great place.
It is a very fun place. So, Greg, we've got just a few minutes left here on the show. Since it is June 1st, let's do it. We like to make picks. We like to make predictions on this game, on this show. So 19-8 was what they finished up the month of May with. What do you think the ending record for June? When we come back here, we'll be back before then. Of course, we're back here every Tuesday at 9 a.m. What do you think the record is going to be there at the end of June?
I think the month of June, we're going to go
28 games.
I think we're going to go either 18-10 or 20-8.
18-10 or 20-8.
Yeah. I would be very happy with that. And I, take another look at, because right now my concern are the Cardinals, not so much the Brewers or the Reds. And I look at, for the Cardinals, they've got I won't say a pretty easy June, but they're at Dodger Stadium the next 3 nights, but their road games include 3 at Wrigley, 4 in Atlanta, 2 in Detroit. I don't think those are nearly as difficult as what Chicago's got.
Right.
They've got 2 home against the Indians, 3 against the Marlins, 4 against the Reds, who always seem to go belly up every time they play the Cardinals, 4 against the Pirates, and 3 against Arizona. That's the month of June. It worries me because the Cubs have such a tough schedule and the Cardinals don't.
Right.
So we will wait and see. Of course, things maybe kind of flip-flop in July because for the Cardinals, 4 in Colorado, 3 in San Francisco, 3 more in Chicago. That's all before the All-Star break. They're home 3 against the Giants, 4 against the Cubs, and we've played okay against them so far. 3 at Cincinnati, 2 at Cleveland, and 3 at home against Minnesota. So I like I'll just say that if we're still in first or 1 or 2 out at the end of June, look out, because I think it'll be our division to win them. But we have to get through the month of June.
Right. I'm optimistic on a 16-12. That's really where I think we're going to be sitting, 16-12 on the month of June. 18-10 is where I would really like to see it. I think that would be great to where we would still be in contention for things. I don't think things will fall too far out. I think they're actually going to win this series, finishing up here with San Diego and Wrigley. I think they've got a really good shot at winning that series when they go out to San Diego. The one series I think we may fall short in is the one against the Giants. I would love to be wrong and that they sweep them, but you can't win all of them. So that's going to be my thing. I think that they're going to win this series with San Diego. I think they're going to probably lose the series with San Francisco. I know that's not very optimistic, but I think they're going to bounce back and win that second one out there in San Diego.
Well, then you look at Milwaukee. They've got 10 road games in June. They go 3 in Cincinnati, 4 in Colorado, 3 in Arizona. Not exactly world beaters there.
No.
They've got, tonight and tomorrow, they've got Detroit, 4 more at home against Arizona, 3 against Pittsburgh, 3 against Cincinnati, 3 against Colorado, and finishing up the month of June with the Cubs. So that's a pretty good month for them as well.
Yes. I mean, we're hoping it's a great month. 19-8. Who would have thought it when we started this show that we would be sitting here talking about the Cubs having the best record in the National League? But hey, it's baseball, and I believe it was a few guys who have said that's the way baseball go. I know Ron Washington, that was his favorite thing to say. But Greg, thanks for hopping on again for a 9th straight week.
More than welcome.
Consistency.
Take them one day at a time. It's real easy to look ahead and predict, but you know what? We beat the Padres today. Tomorrow, let's win again. And then we've got the series, and then look at Wednesday, or look at Tuesday, I should say. And no, it would be Wednesday. I've got my days mixed up. That's a retired guy's problem. Go for the sweep.
Yeah.
I mean, stranger things have happened. I thought this series was one that very easily the Cubs could lose the series or get swept in. Well, we know they can't get swept now.
Right.
So we'll see. And I think Kyle pitched pretty well the last time he was on the mound. So
he has been stringing together better starts. It seems like
I have high hopes for him again tomorrow.
Right.
And I have to take a look. Is that a day game tomorrow or?
No, tomorrow is a regular day.
Okay. Wednesday is a day game. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because then they got to catch the.
I'm not working until Saturday, so I can tune in on that on Wednesday. And maybe
Greg and I will be. If you guys could get into our Messenger, our Facebook Messenger, and just read the back and forth during the game, you guys might enjoy it. But speaking of that, social medias, guys, at Holy Cow Show, it's for all of it. Lebanese Lemmy and Foulball 71359 on Instagrams if you want to keep up with us. Guys, we're getting out of here.
Send us suggestions if there's a topic you want us to talk about. What's the best food that you'll get at San Fran? I like to eat. That's why I'm I've been accused of a lot of things in my life, but I've never been accused of being anorexic or bulimic.
Right.
So, we want to talk about food. We can talk about food.
Philadelphia won the food fight with their Philly cheesesteak. I thought it was kind of a hoser, but whatever. But we've got to get out of here, guys. We got to make sure that Instagram TV can have this because Mark Zuckerberg sucks and won't let us. So we'll see you guys next time. Go Cubs, go.
Adios.